Oh. I'm back yet, honey bunny. I don't know why the camera died. As usual. Hey, Jeff. Hi, Brian. Lars. Oh, I get so annoyed with YouTube. Hi, Tricky. Yeah, that was pretty impressive, Tricky. Also, that's a nice way of hiding something by just pouring it in concrete. That looks pretty cool. So, have you tested that material to make sure it's legitimate? Is is my question. It looked good. It did wasn't tarnished or anything. I would think something like brass would probably have a surface coating. Okay, shiny. Let's see. Yeah, I won't have time for that now. What is this? Let's see what else I got. Invoice, yeah, right. Goodness gracious, I had a lot of stuff that you guys sent me this weekend. Let's see what. No. Okay. So, yep, I can deal with that one. Okay, back to the live stream here. Well, that would be quite a chunk. I'm guessing around 40 pounds, Tricky. 98.5 out of 1,000. Yeah, that's basically some basic refined gold. It's not uh, fully refined, but that's pretty good stuff. Is my estimate on weight anywhere close, Tricky? Because that looked pretty good. Uh, it looked roughly the size of a standard brick, not cinder block, just a regular, red brick. But I've never seen that particular method for hiding some. It seems pretty good. You're not going to be able to see the gold until you smash open the concrete. Not bad. Not a bad idea. It wouldn't. Did you ever leach in a tote? No, I did not. I've leached in a small cement mixer, though, to, yeah, or a little better. 15 kilograms. Okay, I was a little overestimating the weight, but it's been a while since I've held that much gold. So 30-pound bar, not bad. Let's see. 15 kilograms. So we got 15 times 2.2 times 12 times 2,000. Yeah, it seems a little light. Let me see here. 2.2 times 30 times 12 times 2,000. Yeah, that's where I made my mistake. So 1.5 million. Not bad. So No Brian SA. Haven't leached in a tote. Um, done the bottle roll, done cement mixer, but a tote would be fine to do a. Well, actually, yeah, I did. By tote, you mean a intermediate bulk container? Yeah, I tried that, and my big problem was getting good agitation. It turned out difficult to get good agitation. It was a bit of a pain, but yeah, if you if you look back through my stuff, you'll see some of the things I tried to do to improve that. Never really worked that well, but you could.
I love you, and I will start shopping for cactus type things for the house.
Yep. You could also take a tote and put it on edge, and that would allow you to fill it up to the fill hole, and then you just have a V bottom that you're trying to agitate. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong one. Oh, goodness. Oh, so much mail.
Well, tomorrow's the big day.
What day is that, little one?
Tomorrow is Ryan's closing day. When
good.
he spends hours in a lawyer's office signing a pile of paper up to his waist. And we need to buy some materials for me to make
Hi,
a
Chris.
second bath mat.
Okay.
And we need to start shopping for cactus and Tucson.
Okay. That's some pretty nice little chunky gold there. That kind of gold would work in a dry washer without a problem if you got dry material. No, plastic is good against the Eco Gold X or cyanide. It would be, it would. It doesn't harm the toad at all, but you can't put too much heat on it. Crackling and popping like mad. Does anyone else hear a bad audio? I thought I selected the proper microphone when I came back. Yeah, 120 is not going to hurt a tote. They're designed for temperatures like that. Okay, Graham doesn't. Okay. I don't know. My high resolution device. It's messing up the sound. Okay. Eco Gold X loves 120F, which sucks here. Because it never gets to 120F here. Let's see. Let me try. I'm going to just snap my fingers and see what my. Okay. Let's try this one. And this one. Yeah, it looks like the wrong mic is selected. Right camera is. Okay. Apparently it's using the laptop. The laptop mic and the external video. Man. I hate tech. I like rocks. Rocks are so simple. So, anyhow, that's basically where. Yeah, I'll say it. Oops, I see someone in the background. I'm terrified. It's looking over my shoulder. It's going to pounce and injure me, I think. I better run.
Hi, everybody. Hello. And yeah, he's got his tech all mixed up again. Don't look at me. I know nothing tech-wise. Hi, Chris. Hi, David. Yeah, now the sign is right, apparently. Hi, Shaggy. Hi, Resort Dog. Well, in case you missed it, Lord Malarkey's Secret Service had to fire upon people.
I did miss that.
You missed that?
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently what happened is, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, Lord Malarkey's Secret Service was driving one of his granddaughters around late at night in D.C. in an unmarked Secret Service vehicle.
Okay.
And for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, some people actually tried to carjack them. So they had to fire some shots. Fortunately, they didn't hit anybody, and the would-be carjackers took off in a red vehicle, and Lord Malarkey's Secret Service reported the license plate on the red vehicle to the D.C. police, who were obviously totally and completely clueless, but what else is new? So yeah. No idea. And hi, Tricky, say hi to the babies. Probably, Patrick, one never knows. I mean, we are talking the Bidens here. Oh, and in other random news, Gavin Newsom, the dude who ostensibly happens to be the governor of California. Well, in case anybody missed it, which you probably did because nobody's talking about it, there's some sort of an Asian Pacific Economic Conference, APEC, that is going to be happening in San Francisco. And Xi Jinping is going to be there. So for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, I know you're not going to believe this, but apparently that app that was running around online that showed little piles of excrement everywhere where excrement was identified on the city street, that proved conclusively that San Francisco was one giant pile of poo-poo, apparently that app was actually real, and the fact San Francisco was a pile of poo-poo was actually a thing. Now, in their defense, the mayor of San Francisco said that they certainly weren't sitting around when it came to dealing with their homeless problem, their crime problem, or their public excrement problem. Oh no, they weren't sitting around in the least. They were right on top of this, which is why absolutely nothing was happening until APEC was scheduled in San Francisco. Gavin Newsom actually admitted in a press conference, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, that the only reason they have forcibly relocated a very large number of homeless people away from the APEC area and forcibly been power washing the streets with massive amounts of disinfectants and deodorants and everything else is because Xi Jinping is coming to visit. So the goddess is curious, and so are a whole lot of other people. Where the hell did all the homeless folk go in the meantime, since they apparently relocated, 15, 20,000 of them? And how soon are they going to let them back? It's rather rude to go relocating homeless encampments and then expecting them to move back on their own. That's just...
When they
At the very least, they should be compensated for their time and their trouble, and they should be given moving expenses.
When Texas did that to illegals, they called it kidnapping and trafficking, weren't it?
Well, of course, because that's different.
Because
technically, that's referent. Different is when it's right. Referent is when it ain't. Okay? Just so you know.
I'm so confused.
And in other random homeless news in California, someplace in LA County, apparently there's a freeway that is, off the ground type, elevated type freeway situation. And there was a very large homeless encampment under said freeway, extremely large enough that when it randomly had a very large fire, it randomly did a very large amount of damage to said freeway. And the last news article the goddess saw on the issue intimated that it was an indeterminate period of time until that stretch of freeway is safe and usable again, which is a little bit bizarre. The goddess has to wonder about what's going on over there in California. We don't know the outcome yet, but apparently Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul, was testifying in court today in the case of that dude that showed up at his house in the middle of the night with the hammer. Yeah. Which is why the news isn't talking about it at all. The news doesn't talk about a whole lot of things, and that's fine because apparently absolutely nothing is going on anywhere. Well, I won't say nothing is going on anywhere. According to some of the major news outlets, this is the time of year when you may be able to save $1.57 on this year's Thanksgiving feast if you use the right combination of coupons and apps and things. And this is also a great time of the year for you to read the many in-depth articles on the 10 or 20 or 17 simple ways to burn an extra 100 calories a day sitting at home on your sweet fat patootie. Very, very important news. Absolutely.
You weren't burning anything when you were sitting on yours.
They are asking all the right questions here. This is the thing that folks want to know. Absolutely. One of many, many things that folks want to know. Right there. Ah, your butt's been wiped, huh, Joe Biden? Hope somebody did a good job with it. One has to wonder. Exxon to start lithium production for EVs in the U.S. by 2027. Let's see what Exxon's up to here. ExxonMobil said on Monday it plans to start producing lithium from subsurface wells by 2027 to provide supplies of the key metal used in electric car batteries and advanced electronics. Oil majors are investing in the electrification sector as governments in the United States and Europe set programs to promote wider use of electric vehicles and reduce fossil fuel consumption. Exxon said it will start production from briny waters pumped out of the ground in an area in the state of Arkansas. Really now? Known to hold significant lithium deposits to help develop a domestic source of the metal. Woo-hoo. In the long term, lithium really is a global opportunity, said Dan Amon, president of Exxon's low carbon business unit. We're starting here because there's an urgent need to ramp up domestic production of these critical materials. Exxon plans to supply lithium for well over 1 million EVs per year, that's million with an M, and become a leading supplier of the metal by 2030. Analysts at financial firm TD Cowen estimate its goal would require some $2 billion with a B in capital expenditures to provide 50,000 tons of volume that could generate $800 million in potential cash. The goddess is thinking that doesn't math very well, but it's probably just the goddess's fault.
Here's my thought.
Ammon did not disclose how much Exxon intends to invest in the lithium business or when it might become profitable. Oh, so this might be like an Amazon thing or an Instacart thing where, unlike every other business on the planet, it doesn't show a profit for 7, 8, 9, 10 years or more, yet for some reason it's not a profitable hobby. Oh well. I mean, it's not like it's anything important, okay? Given the state of the so-called dollar at the moment, I'd say that that's like the least of our worries. Ammon did not disclose how much. Okay, we got that. The largest U.S. oil company said it would use conventional oil and gas drilling methods to access lithium-rich salt water from the reservoirs about 10,000 feet underground. Really now. And then use direct lithium extraction technology to separate the lithium from the salt water. Okay. The company's majority-owned Canadian affiliate, Imperial Oil, also has invested in a lithium extraction pilot project in Alberta, Canada. Exxon plans to begin production with a partner, Tetra Technologies, Reuters exclusively reported on Saturday. It will produce the metal on site and sell it under the brand name Mobile Lithium, the company said on Monday. Exxon had acquired the rights to 120,000 gross acres of the Smackover Formation in Arkansas, a potential hub of activity for lithium brine aspirants earlier this year. European oil rivals BP and Shell have invested in EV charging stations as part of their energy transition strategy. A Deloitte study released earlier this year showed investors would like to see more spending on such technologies. Spoiler alert, investors would like to see more spending on such technologies until they figure out that they don't friggin' work. Just saying. Exxon, which invented the rechargeable lithium-ion battery in the 1970s, but stepped away from the technology, so at one point they were saying and now they're not, has no plans to invest in EV charging stations, Exxon's Ammon said. It wants to supply lithium for EV batteries, consumer electronics, and energy storage systems that can hold electricity generated from intermittent solar and wind power. There are about 280 million with an M vehicles in the United States today, and fewer than 3 million with an M are EVs, or about 1% of the total. There is still 99% to go, which suggests a very, very big opportunity, he said. Okay. Sometimes the goddess has to wonder how you get jobs like this. But in a random side note, on the matter of how you get a job as a CEO for any of these companies, it turns out
Never say we never read the comments.
amongst all the proliferation of AI things, some smart yo-yo has invented a CEO AI. The goddess will be laughing her butt off when some of these CEOs who have been telling people for years, oh, AIs aren't going to take away any human jobs, suddenly find themselves retired. The goddess has to wonder, how do you train an AI to be a CEO? I think the AI CEOs are going to have trouble playing golf. This may not go well. Just saying, you know. Caliber Mining and Marathon Gold combined to create future 500,000 ounce per year producer. Caliber Mining and Marathon Gold are combining to create an America's focused mid-tier gold producer with an estimated annual gold production of approximately 500,000 ounces in 2025 to 2026. Per a definitive agreement signed on Monday, Caliber will acquire Marathon in an all-stock deal, issuing 0.6164 of a common share for each Marathon share acquired. This gives Marathon an implied value of 84 cents per share, Canadian, or 345 million Canadian on a fully diluted in-the-money basis. Okay. This consideration represents a premium of 32% based on the spot price of the company's shares and a 61% premium over their 20-day volume weighted average price. Shares of Marathon Gold surged nearly 11% on Monday afternoon following the news, giving the company a market capitalization of 285.6 million Canadian. Caliber Mining shares, meanwhile, were down 12% with a market capitalization of 552.6 million Canadian. Marathon's main asset is the Valentine Gold Project located in the central region of Newfoundland and Labrador. That's a little chilly. It comprises a series of mineralized deposits along a 20-kilometer trend that combine to form what is now the largest undeveloped gold resource in Atlantic Canada. A December 2022 feasibility study for Valentine outlined an open pit mining and conventional milling operation with an average gold production profile of 195,000 ounces per year for the first 12 years of a 14.3-year mine life. Production is scheduled to begin production in early 2025. The addition of Valentine would therefore nearly double Calibre's existing annual production of 250 to 275,000 ounces from its Nicaraguan and U.S. operations. The combined company would have a significant combined mineral endowment of over 4 million ounces of mineral reserves, 8.6 million ounces of measured and indicated mineral resources, inclusive of mineral reserves, and 4 million ounces of inferred mineral resources. During the 2024 to 2026, the company will also boast a peer-leading production growth of 80%. This transformative merger creates a projected 500,000 ounces of gold producer and offers our shareholders diversification and exposure to high-quality, long-life production in a Tier 1 jurisdiction, Calibre Chairman Blaine Johnson stated. This transaction builds on that commitment, adding a high-quality gold asset in the final stages of construction with strong exploration upside in one of the top mining jurisdictions in the world. Nice words. When I see the bars coming out, I'll be a little bit more confident here. According to Calibre, the combined company will have a strong balance sheet with a combined cash balance of $148 million with an M, and significant free cash flow generated from Calibre's existing mines, ensuring the seamless completion of Valentine during the final 50% of construction. Through this transaction, Valentine will be fully funded to production without additional debt, royalties, or shareholder equity, Marathon CEO Matt Manson confirmed. In connection with the merger, Calibre has also agreed to invest Canadian $40 million in Marathon via a private placement financing of common shares priced at 60 cents Canadian each. Upon completion, Calibre will own 14.2% of Marathon's issued and outstanding shares. Proceeds from the placement will be used by Marathon to fund the development and construction of Valentine, which is estimated to cost 403 million Canadian. What?
No, I'm just saying bye to Tricky. He's got to go pick up one of the kids.
But that's where we are there. And then, I don't know if you heard exactly what's going on down in Panama. This business with environmentalists is getting a little bit bizarre. As a matter of fact, earlier this week, it got a little bit lethal when some American expat lawyer of some kind decided, to quote him, "This stops now," when he got out of his car and he shot a couple of environmentalists that were protesting in the middle of a dang highway. One of the things they were protesting happened to be our old friends First Quantum, the copper company. First Quantum cuts back on ore processing amid port blockades. First Quantum Minerals said on Monday it had reduced ore processing at its mine in Panama as protests against the project were causing blockades at a port. Protesters have expressed concerns over a mining contract signed between the government and the company late last month, arguing it was tainted with corruption, and was highly favorable to the Canadian miner. The company said the blockade of small boats at the mine's Punta Rincon port, so Corner Point port, has affected the delivery of supplies for its on-site power generation plant and is impacting the loading of copper concentrates into vessels. The company said it had ramped down operations at one ore processing train while two remained operational. Shares of the miner were down 2.8%. A Cobre Panama mine accounts for 1% of global copper output and is operated by a local unit of First Quantum. A Reuters survey, I wonder if their survey people are more reputable than their freelance photojournalists. Just asking. Found that a majority of lawyers believe Panama's top court would revoke First Quantum's contract for the mine, which contributes 5% to Panama's gross domestic product. The contested contract, which was approved October 20th, provides First Quantum a 20-year mining right with an option to extend for another 20 years. In return for $375 million with an M in annual revenue to Panama. The miners' contract has snowballed into a lightning rod ahead of the May 2024 Panama elections. Meanwhile, Standard & Poor's has revised Panama's economic outlook to negative from stable. Which firm was it? Was it also Standard & Poor's that just downgraded us from negative to stable? The dollar?
No, from stable to negative.
Yeah, from stable to negative. Was that Standard & Poor's?
I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, somebody downgraded the U.S. dollar from stable to negative as well. So just saying. Due to potential risks to investor confidence. The uncertainty has also wiped out about $8 billion with a B Canadian from First Quantum's market value. Amid the rout, China's Zhongxi Copper, First Quantum's biggest shareholder, last week raised its stake in the Canadian company to 18.5%. Well, that's not looking very good. The goddess doesn't like that.
Well,
2 Panamanian prosecutors have deemed the contract unconstitutional after examining legal challenges submitted to the court. However, Maritza Cedeno, the president of the country's Bar Association, noted past rulings have deviated from the initial positions of these officials. She declined to disclose her stance, saying the court would work without pressures. 4 of the 7 lawyers polled by Reuters predicted the top court will nullify the contract possibly as soon as mid-December.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
If the Chinese stakeholders paid a little bit of money to get some environmentalists to complain, and that dropped the price of the stock a whole lot, then they could buy it up for a lot of less money.
Absolutely.
And it would be a real good investment.
And it would be a very cheap way to go about doing it too, actually. Environmentalists are not very expensive. Just saying. What's the name of that platform where you can order up a protest anywhere in the world? What was the name of that? Well, anyway, there's a platform online where you can order up a protest anywhere in the world. In some of these countries, you can get a really big protest for pennies on the dollar. Cool. Complete with nice signs and everything. That's where a lot of this astroturfing comes from, just so you know. Anyway, 2 others believe the court will uphold the contract, and 1 remains uncertain. There is precedent, said lawyer Ariel Corbetti, pointing out the contract has similarities to the initial First Quantum deal, which was scrapped by the court in 2017. That contract was inherited by First Quantum in 2013 after it became the owner of the mine. However, Panama's top court in 2017 deemed unconstitutional the law under which First Quantum was operating the mine. I guess First Quantum didn't pay the judge enough, huh? The ruling was upheld in 2021, resulting in last month's fresh deal with the government. A representative for Panama's top court declined to comment on the possible outcome and directed Reuters to a statement saying, "Resolving the challenges is the body's #1 priority." First Quantum did not reply to a request for comment on the future of the contract pending court proceedings. So that's where we are today. Couple of dead environmentalists, ports being blockaded, and First Quantum's going to have to pony up a whole lot more money to buy off Panama, apparently. Just saying. And in related news, China tightens grip on copper, key to the world's energy transition. Gee, why are we totally not surprised that the Great Panda Patrol is scarfing up the metal supplies? China's in the midst of a breakneck expansion of its copper industry that's reshaping global flows of the essential metal for the world's energy transition. The Asian nation's grip on the supply of other green metals like lithium, cobalt, and nickel used in electric vehicle batteries has already prompted worried Western governments to encourage separate supply chains. Maybe they should have kept their own supply chains in the first place. Just saying. Meanwhile, China's production of refined copper and its share of world output is headed for a record this year after a burst in the construction of new smelters. The rapid ramp up in capacity brings a fresh dynamic to a market that for 20 years has been driven in large part by how much buyers in China are willing to pay. The country will still import growing amounts of copper, but more as ore rather than refined metal. Copper has been labeled as the most important commodity in the ranges of decarbonization for its use in everything from EVs to wind turbines and vastly expanded power grids. Booming Chinese demand for green technology has been a bright spot for an otherwise beleaguered world metals market in 2023. Like all countries, China sees a strategic need for copper, particularly now with the growth in green energy applications. And China, like other countries, wants to ensure self sufficiency, said Craig Lane, principal analyst at CRU Group. China will account for about 45% of global refined copper output this year, according to CRU. 45%. The smelter buildup will be a key talking point for hundreds of copper industry executives descending this week on China's commodity hub of Shanghai for Asia Copper Week. Miners and smelters will negotiate key annual ore supply contracts, and attendees will take the latest temperature of Chinese demand. Despite the financial toll of the pandemic and China's property crisis, the nation's metals consumption has been relatively strong in 2023. That has probably helped copper stave off an even deeper market slump, with prices only slightly lower than this time last year. CRU sees copper demand in China growing 5% this year, while Goldman Sachs named copper as one of the top commodity picks for the next year on a robust green demand environment, especially in the Asian powerhouse. We expect to find Chinese players slightly less cautious than may have been feared 2 months ago, said Colin Hamilton, Managing Director for Commodities Research at BMO Capital Markets Limited. The expansion of smelting capacity echoes the history of China's other metals industries. Until 2006, the country was a net importer for steel, but a wave of new capacity eventually led to a flood of exports, hurting international steel makers and fueling global trade tensions in the pre-Trump era. China's copper smelting capacity will increase by another 40% by 2027, accounting for 61% of expected new plants around the world in that period, according to Carlos Rizo-Patron, Director of Economics at the International Copper Study Group. Simon Hunt, 50-year veteran of the copper industry who now runs his own consultancy, reckons China could turn net exporter of copper by 2025 or 26 as production booms. That's not a consensus view, but the viability of exports is a topic of discussion in the industry. In any case, China's copper smelters could pile pressure on their global peers in coming years as they pay up to get the feedstock they need. The closure of older smelters in the rest of the world would be the outcome. For now, the rapid expansion of copper smelting capacity is triggering a race to secure copper concentrate to feed the smelters, with annual contract negotiations taking place this week against the backdrop of a tightening market for the raw material. The treatment charges that miners pay smelters to process ore drops when concentrate is scarce. That dynamic is likely to be reflected in a fall in fees for the next year to $84 a ton from $88 a ton, according to an estimate from Shanghai Metals Market. Global copper concentrate supplies will be loose in the first half before switching to a deficit in the second. At the same time, the increase in smelting is making China less dependent on imported copper metal, leading to expectations of an oversupply of the refined form that sets the price on the London Metal Exchange, the world's benchmark. That's causing headaches for China's traditional suppliers like Chile, and has forced the world's biggest copper producer, Codelco, to slash the annual premium it charges to Chinese buyers. To be sure, China isn't the only nation building new smelters. India, Indonesia, and Africa's copper belt are also adding capacity. India, Indonesia, Africa, BRICS nations and people applying to BRICS nations, and the USA is nowhere on that list. China is mulling caps on smelter expansions for environmental reasons, though restrictions are unlikely to be imminent. The Shanghai Copper event comes at a time of heightened uncertainty for global growth, with major economies still at a risk of recession and investors unsure whether the Federal Reserve is done with rate hikes. On Monday, copper ticked higher from its lowest close in more than 2 weeks, trading at 8,053 a ton by 10:28 a.m. Shanghai time. It's down about 3.8% this year. Yeah. The goddess is very displeased by these developments, by the way, in case you could not tell. The goddess is not pleased by this. The world should not be relying on China for any of this nonsense when we have our own.
You must name the refiners, please.
If the refiners were listed in the article, I would name them Resort Dog. But yeah. Some of the, I don't know who all is going to be in Shanghai, but it will be an interesting meeting. The metals behind the next big thing. Savvy investors are always on the lookout for the next big thing, a dominant theme that drives headlines and creates profit opportunities in markets. The problem is, by the time everyone's talking about it, it's often too late to invest, at least at attractive prices. The big investment storyline in 2023 has been artificial intelligence. So-called AI stocks have garnered lots of attention as well as capital from investors hoping to cash in on the growth prospects of AI. Some of these companies may be producing more financial hype than substance. AI itself has been the recipient of much hype in the media. Well, they have to distract us with something. Critics, meanwhile, warn of doomsday scenarios where computers and robots become sentient and rebel against the commands of their human controllers. Well, yeah. For better or for worse, smart technologies will continue to expand their role and reach in our daily lives. If some Silicon Valley technophiles have their way, we'll increasingly be working and recreating within a virtual reality metaverse. But far from liberating us from material needs, AI-driven applications will require massive new material inputs. In particular, computer-powered electronic devices depend on strategic metals such as gold, silver, platinum, palladium. According to Metals Focus, an independent research firm, increased demand for computer chips that power AI will translate into widespread support for a range of precious metals-bearing components. Metals Focus projects projects that demand will rise for platinum alloys used in chip manufacturing, silver palladium multi-layer ceramic capacitors, whatever the heck those are, in high power components, gold bonding wire in chip and memory packages, gold plating in printed circuit boards, and palladium plating on lead frames. If that makes sense to anybody, let the goddess know. Yes, gold, falsely derided as a barbarous relic by socialist John Maynard Keynes, will play an important role in our high-tech future. Although technology sector makes up a relatively small proportion of overall gold demand, high-tech industries are commanding an increasingly large share of the silver market. Silver is indispensable in almost all computer and electronic applications due to its superior conductive properties. Yes. Mining production of silver and other precious metals is failing to keep up with projected demand growth. Plentiful supplies of critical materials are simply taken for granted by many analysts, who project booms in AI, automation, electric vehicles, solar power, and other trendy investment themes. But instead of some tech-driven growth story, the next big thing could actually be resource scarcity. Years of underinvestment in mines and other extractive industries create opportunity for contrarian investors who see supply shortfalls and price spikes as very real risks going forward. Mining companies as a group have proven to be notoriously poor investments, you got that right, that are fraught with risk even when market conditions are favorable. By contrast, physical metals themselves entail none of the risks associated with an energy intensive, labor intensive, and politically vulnerable business. Physical bullion may never be touted in the mainstream media as the next big thing, but behind AI, alternative energy, and all the other compelling high tech storylines is the basic reality that they cannot come to fruition without metals. And yes, once again, metals are on sale. the goddess today did something very unusual. I actually bought an American Silver Eagle, a 1990 American Silver Eagle, fairly nicely toned, and it only cost me $1 more than the beautiful maple leaf I bought and the equally beautiful kangaroo I bought from Perth Mint. And all three of these were only $1 more, $1 over spot above what a generic round would have cost me. So yeah, silver and gold are on sale still, people. Anybody who is not backing up the truck with every paycheck is kind of beginning to miss the point here, okay? Speaking of paychecks, a few people were actually discussing that direct deposit kerfluffle that happened last week with banks. Nobody is going back to revisit the big mess that happened a couple of months ago between Bank of America and Zelle that never seemed to have a resolution. There are still tens of thousands of people around the country whose money has never come back from being poofed in that last kerfluffle. There are still people around the country whose latest direct deposit after this latest kerfluffle has yet to become unpoofed. So the goddess will remind you again. Thou shalt unbank thyself, lest thy fiat go poof. Things are getting a little weird in the banking world. If you want to know how weird things are getting in the banking world, the goddess mentioned a little earlier tonight that American dollars and American treasuries got downgraded again from stable to a negative outlook. A negative outlook on U.S. treasuries. Now, the interesting part about this is we recently had a treasury auction at some point this week. There was a treasury auction that was not being discussed by anybody. One of the reasons the media has not been discussing treasury auctions is because they have been getting worse and worse. Fewer and fewer people are choosing to buy our debt. This one, apparently, the sales numbers were the worst in the history of U.S. treasury auctions. At this point in time, apparently the only people that are routinely buying our treasuries are the banks. And that's probably only because the feds have a metaphorical gun to the heads of the banks, telling them that they have to invest in treasuries. Yeah, which is why the bank balance sheets for unrealized losses are going vertical. And the other thing that was going vertical, other than the M2 money supply that's been going vertical for years, and the M1 that's been going vertical, the interest payments. The interest payments on our debt are now going vertical. As a matter of fact, it's looking like the interest payment alone on the debt this year is well on track and may already be exceeding the combined military and Social Security budget. Quite fascinating. It's looking like the payment to service that debt is going to top 1 trillion with a T here really, really shortly. Oh, and by the way, if you have not been to usdebtclock.org recently, they're putting a different meme on the front page of the website every day. It's so cool. Just saying. It is just so cool.
Why don't both of you just calm down a little bit?
Yeah, Resort Dog and Honey Bunny are talking about something.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, I have no idea what you missed because I can't read the comments while I'm reading other things. You know? And Resort Dog, I doubt you're being obtuse. Hello, person from Thailand. Hi, Graham. So, yeah, that's basically where we are. And in case you missed the prices, $1,974.10 for gold, $22.90 for silver, $902 an ounce for platinum, $1,083 for palladium, and $38.50 for rhodium. And the goddess still finds it very funny that rhodium sits at zero forever in 10 days half the time. And when it does change, it only changes in flat $100 increments or $200 increments. Bizarre and unaccountable shit. The goddess is like totally fascinated by that. Speaking of turkeys, well, we weren't exactly speaking of turkeys. To date, the amazing turkey sales of years past are not materializing. At the moment, the best price the goddess is seeing on a turkey is 89 cents a pound. The goddess misses 38 cents a pound turkeys. Okay? Just to let you know. Also, apparently, there aren't as many large birds around. Large birds have disappeared again. Not many were grown, which is not entirely surprising, but not great either. And, funny enough, there was an interesting article, an interesting interview that came out today, I think it was, somewhere in Chicago. Some legacy media yo-yos were talking to some criminal aliens from Venezuela, a family. Mind you, these are criminal aliens, father, mother, teenagers, etc., from Venezuela. They apparently did not speak English since an interpreter was present. They have no work permits. They've been sleeping off and on in various shelters and police departments, etc., for almost a year since they got here. And they're fed up. They're going back to Venezuela because, as this dude told the reporter, the American dream is dead. You see, the American dream is dead because a group of people who entered this country illegally were not able to fast-track work permits, were not able to fast-track cheap or free housing, were not able to fast-track any other forms of assistance, and they would prefer to be sleeping on the streets back home in totalitarian and really, really bad shape Venezuela than here in the United States because the American dream is dead. This occasioned an interesting debate on Reddit, because of course most of Reddit is somewhere to the left of Chairman Mao here, with many people saying, yes, the American dream is dead. You know, I'm working one full-time job, one part-time job, picking up gig work, and my rent's about to get raised again, and I can't afford it. These are the plaints and the cries of ordinary Americans. The only people who were saying the American dream was not dead that I saw on Reddit were highly skilled, legal immigrants who came here under good circumstances and are busting their freaking tails. Or the first-gen children of these highly skilled, legal immigrants that came to this country and are busting their tails and learning their skills. Basically, America's poor have pretty much decided the American dream is dead. Americans rich, apparently rich Americans, are so used to having too much that they don't even think about the whole issue to begin with. But yeah, it was quite interesting to see that interview and to see the number of people in certain political spheres saying that this was horrible, not because the American dream is dead for actual Americans, but because the American dream is dead for criminals. As a matter of fact, I think it was CNN in one of their more delusional moments earlier today, or it might have been Jen Psaki in one of her more delusional arguments. But anyway, at some point today, The mainstream media was once again making the case that if Donald John Trump got reelected, it would be an unmitigated disaster because, well, we would see the true tragedy of closed borders and all kinds of deportations, and that would be truly tragic, and closing the borders and making the criminal aliens go away would cause a great economic upheaval and destroy our economy and drive us into a recession. Yeah. You know, the goddess really has to wonder about the state of our current mass psychosis going on here, okay? This mass psychosis is not as pleasant as it was 6 or 8 months ago. At the rate it's going, the insane people might actually start coming here, and then the goddess will be very, very, very annoyed. Insane people are far more pleasant to watch when they're very, very far away. Just saying. Meanwhile, stock up on your turkey. Be very mindful of your pantry. Unbank thyself, lest thy fiat go poof. And when in doubt, spend your extra money on precious metals, because if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye-bye.
Anyhow, no opinion, resort dog, no information.
What?
Prozac is a poison, and the Bushes profited investment-wise greatly.
Oh yeah, SSRIs in general are a poison.
Question: is it safe to keep precious metals in a bank box? No.
No.
Will they raid them and confiscate them? They have in the past.
Besides the fact, I think it's illegal now. Basically, the only thing you can keep in a safety deposit box, you can't keep money in one.
I know you can't keep money in one.
You can keep jewelry, you can keep silverware, you can keep small pieces of fine art, and you can keep important paperwork.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Again, as Ia says, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Putting it in a bank is giving them custody. Depending on the situation, that can be a really bad idea.
When in doubt, what you're looking for, I believe they used to call them memory lamps. They're those glass ginger jar lamps that you can open up the base on and put things inside. So you see, you get one of those and you fill it with silver, and then you cover the outside with like wallpaper or some form of decoupage, and you have a nice lamp that's full of money.
Jean-Francois, first of all, I would be working diligently to get out of a dangerous neighborhood if I found myself in one. Secondly of all, one of the best ways to achieve a level of safety is diversification. Now, in investments, it means different investments. In this way, different locations. Okay? That's another way, Jean-Francois, disguise. Tricky Dicky showed one today. It was a 16 kilogram gold bar that had been cast into concrete. Now that's an interesting way to hide something. Probably, Honey Bunny. I don't know of any of those that are, I mean, I love this. Antidepressant, major side effects, suicide. That would be kind of like cough suppressant, major side effects, coughing, uncontrollable coughing.
Most of those head meds are not safe. They don't even know how they work.
Yeah, exactly. I would say nowadays you should focus on your personal safety things. For example, last week I got another serious first aid kit for my car. I've got one in my truck, but I didn't have one in my car. So if we had a situation where something happened, and I was in the car, and I mean, this could just be a traffic accident, but I mean, it's got tourniquet, pressure bandage, serious stuff. It's not Band-Aids and those little packages of aspirin or whatever. I mean, I still got to put some hemostats and tweezers and needle and a few other little things, because tweezers and a needle and Band-Aids are probably the most common things I ever use in a first aid kit to get splinters out and things like that. But make sure that you've got all the stuff that, I've got another thing too, is I've got to read the instructions and check it out. Notice this is in a package, which is really cool. But if I don't know how to use it in an emergency, I don't want to have to read the instructions. So I need to take this out and get it taken care of. Oh, grease pens. You can use anything that you have to, Chris. In an emergency, a marker will work. But yeah, if you don't have the knowledge of serious first aid, then you should get that too. Don't plan on learning at the time. Learn by doing is not the time to. Do I have them? No, I do not, Chris. I do have, what kind of markers are those? Oh, gosh, my brain is getting horrible. Sharpies. Sharpies work. But yeah, there's been a few times I've needed stuff. Pair of scissors, preferably the little end scissors. Hemostats, tweezers, needles, things like that come in real handy. And this was a nice little package this thing came in. Very pleased with that. And if you want, you can even take this whole part off. I'm not sure why you would want to take the molly pack and strap off, but it comes off.
So you can stuff it inside a bigger bag.
It may just be that also when you do it that way, it closes. You don't have the red showing.
Actually, it may also be that you leave the molly part on the pack, and somebody can rip that off your molly.
Yeah, it could be. Just grab it and go.
Yeah.
And then, little things like that come off easily too. Those are good, honey bunny. Okay, Chris. That's a lot of isopropanol and hydrogen peroxide, honey bunny. Is that something used for something else? I would think that would be a lot just to essentially recycle every so often. Well, you not only have a mine, you also have a fallout shelter. But anyhow, stuff like this and knowledge, practice. One thing that people don't, they get something and they think just because they got it, they're good with it. Not a wise way to plan things, but get what you need, learn how to use it, etc. And always write the time applied. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have much problem with sun, but the other thing around here is warmer than the outside in many cases. I have never tried to get anything out of a catalytic converter, and I think the usual way they get that is by leaching with something, but I don't know. Isopropanol kills red bugs after swimming. Okay. I don't have red bugs. What are red bugs, Resort Dog? This must be something that doesn't exist around here that I'm aware of. Perhaps I should be. Perhaps it doesn't exist. Oh, the almond book has catalytic converters? Okay, that's cool. I never got to that part. Sounds like a mite. Yeah, sounds like it. We haven't seen any ticks or anything like that up here so far. Yeah, Almond had a lot of stuff, that's for sure. I've got a copy of his book somewhere. Again, I haven't read it because I haven't needed it and I've been busy doing other stuff. But you know, duck mites, huh? I wonder if the ducks and geese up here have them. I'm getting rigged up to go hunting again. Um, but I went and checked out my AR-10 the other day, and I got it sighted into about exactly where I wanted to, and then it failed, and I found a case with a uh, perforated primer in it, and then the bolt locked, and I took it to the gunsmith day, $35. He took it apart. Thinks it was probably a little piece of metal from the primer that got into stuff. And he just cleaned the bolt out and everything, and it's working fine. And if you are drunk, they don't try to feed on you. I would suggest not getting drunk on isopropanol. That would be your last serious drunk. Um, it's commercial ammunition, 7.62 NATO. So I don't know that the gunsmith said that the primer, I mean, the firing pin itself had a pretty sharp perimeter around it. It was a very sharp corner on it. So he broke that down just a little. He chamfered it some more. So I'll take it out and see what else, uh, it could be. But it might have just been something weird. But I say he was looking at the firing pin itself. That it might have just been too sharp on the edges, so it acted more like a punch instead of a thumper, you know. But be that as it may, nothing major is damaged the gun. I don't know enough about the AR platform to safely dismantle a stuck bolt. And what I did do is I removed the lower so that it couldn't possibly fire. I had dropped the hammer, so it wasn't likely to be, uh, anything. But without the lower on there, it's pretty safe. Okay, Jean-Francois, interesting. So if there's too much lube in the chamber, it can do it, huh? So anyhow, say things like that, get things figured out, get things distributed. Like I know a guy in Tucson, and he had go bags, different place. My place was one. But he basically, can I put some stuff on a shelf there and just leave it? And I said, okay, sure. And by distributing stuff, you're not going to lose all your stashes at once. Okay. Let's say you have 3 major stashes. At most, you're probably only going to lose one. So you still got 2/3 of your stuff. And that seems to make sense to me. Eggs in baskets, you know how it goes. That was a good one. That's what she said, huh? Okay. Uh, but anyhow, you'll forget only half of where you stash your stuff. That is one of the problems, or you might not be able to get to it in an emergency situation, depending on how far apart your various things are. Still haven't gotten any response from the governor on how resilient the state of Montana is to outside shocks. One thing that is guaranteed to happen sometime, probably sooner rather than in the far future, is that Cascadia subduction zone is going to go. Well, everything else is falling apart. It'll probably be before Christmas. But we're in Montana. We'll feel the earthquake. It won't be damaging at this distance. Okay. Shouldn't be a problem that way. However, on the West Coast, you're suddenly going to have millions of people that really don't have the proper infrastructure to support them, and it cannot be fixed quickly. So, my presumption is there's going to be a lot of refugees moved this way. And what are we doing to prepare for that? I don't know. One would think that when you have something that's going to be very, very large and it's already overdue, it happens periodically, one should have a plan. I am not highly confident that they do. Since I've been working for over half a year just to find someone who can tell me about what plans they have, and have been unable to do it. Hey, Tricky. Yeah, it doesn't give me confidence. So I just don't know. But that's frustrating. I assume that it will be a problem, but how badly, I don't know. Yellowstone, that is a situation where we should see a lot of buildup. Okay. It's an earthquake tends to happen suddenly with very little warning. Volcanoes don't. It takes a while to build up. You notice how they had the evacuations for over a month before Mount St. Helens blew up. Okay. What surprised most of them was the exact manner and therefore the violence of the eruption. That's possible, Shaggy. What's going on in Iceland right now, Jean-Francois? Had to move word. We haven't had bugs as a real problem here. We have something called juniper beetles, which are annoying and quite prolific, but which are not really harmful or dangerous or bloodsuckers or anything like that. So, not worried about it. Major magma flow, huh? Let's see.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Iceland volcano. Iceland has declared a state of emergency. More than 3,000 residents. When is this? When was the date here? Date, please. Yeah. That'd be too simple to actually put a date on something. 3,000 residents urged to evacuate the small coastal town of Grindavik. Whoa! An Icelandic name I can pronounce.
Really?
Yeah, Grindavik. No weird colons above stuff or nothing. Grindavik. Sweet. Finally, I can speak Icelandic. Magma's moving. Okay. So anyhow, it's not a good thing for the poor people of Icy Land. uh, yeah, potentially. It's not the whole west coast of United States. Are we talking Iceland? Let's see. Fully activated the area. Mentioned the whole west coast can be smothered in a pond. Is that west coast of Iceland you're talking about, Honey Bunny? Very close to the largest lagoon. Interesting. If you decide to live on top of a volcano, you should expect problems, even if you're just on the side of a volcano. Iceland Blue Lagoon and power plants threatened. Sean Woolley has done 3 updates in the last 36 hours.
Well, that sounds a little bit ominous.
Yeah, that sounds undesirable. Yeah, in the
Yeah,
case
that sounded ominous right there.
in the case of the west coast of the United States, they have these major earthquakes and plate movements. I think it's every like an average 240 years or something. By looking at tsunami deposits, they've actually got a good record for like the last 10,000 years. And the last time it happened, if I'm not mistaken, was in 1700. So we're well overdue. There was a. Do you remember one 1980s when one blew in Utah? No, I don't remember. So anyhow, as I say, it's going to be a major thing. When I was going through the Oregon Geological Survey website, it was pretty sobering when it said, if you live west of Interstate 5, do not, basically do not expect first responders to arrive in anything less than 2 weeks. Okay, you are going to be on your own if you survive, Wow. Yeah, I remember the violent, the ash clouds were really messing up the air traffic. Last information I saw, Resort Dog, was from Northern California to north of Vancouver Island was the Cascadia subduction zone, and that it ruptured, I think, an average of like every 248 years. Last one, they know exactly when it was, within about an hour, even though there were no Europeans there at the time, because the tsunami hit Japan and was recorded there. They had a major tsunami with no earthquake. They called it the orphan tsunami. So figuring the travel time of the tsunami, they have the time of the earthquake in the Pacific Northwest within an hour 300 years ago. Not bad. So anyhow, New Madrid, that's one that they really have no idea, last I heard. Was that essentially a one-off? Is that something that happens every long periods of time? We can't predict it or not. Cascadia subduction zone is periodistic. I mean, they've got like 30 or 40 events they've got plotted on a timeline. Yeah. Just found a report that says the eruption in Iceland is already ongoing, huh?
Wow.
Well, nobody survives everything. Yeah. Life is a fatal. Yeah, it's cracked pretty good through Grindavik. Hmm, interesting. In Quebec, they built on the epicenter of fall that blows up every 300 years. Last one was 7 to 7, 7.2, 7.8. Really? Huh.
Well, that's a pretty.
I didn't know they had active faults in Quebec. Hmm. Interesting.
Well, that seems like some pretty poor planning right there.
Yeah, according to Jean Francois, they shut down some nuclear power plants because they were close to that fault line and it's overdue. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. Another one that'll really be interesting is the next time a large underwater landslide occurs on the Hawaiian Islands. Um, they're looking at tsunami heights on the west coast of the United States of over 100 feet. Tsunami heights at the islands themselves of 1,000 feet. You know, so it it can get really, and it would hit the whole Pacific Basin. Um, they're talking something like 500 cubic kilometer landslide, submarine, and that's why the last time the Great Crack on Kilauea started opening up, I got very very nervous because they say when that goes, it's going to make a huge splash.
Well, the question is, are the Hawaiian Islands going to still be there?
The wildlife, oh yeah, they've got coral embedded in the cliffs on Kauai, I think it is. The Canaries, yeah, Cumbre Vieja in the Canaries.
Well, I just wondered.
That would do the same thing on the East Coast.
Disappeared.
Yeah, no, in this case, no. Krakatoa disappeared because it was a volcano that filled up with lava, spewed all the lava out, and then collapsed. These are a different thing. These are volcanoes that pour lava out. It goes to the ocean, it solidifies, and it creates a steep thing, basically a ledge, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually it becomes too top heavy and it just slides. It becomes unstable and goes sink. And you have this huge landslide. And so they estimate roughly 500 cubic kilometers. And so I say there's lots of geological hazards out there. That's for sure.
At least not many of them are here in Montana.
Locally here in Montana, we don't have much that. Where would it be? Hawaii? Yeah, that's one that in the Atlantic you have the Canary Islands, Cumbre Vieja, and in the Pacific you have the Hawaiian Islands. They actually have found tsunami damage in Australia that they presume came from one of these Hawaiian lands. They have very very far apart, like once every 100,000 years. But yeah, they're big, you know. So, I say the thing about Yellowstone, which is like 100 miles from here, is that it will give lots of warning before it goes. So far, nothing's happening to speak of. Okay. Let's see. Oh, well, that's not going to do well, Jean Francois. Yeah, I would say so, Tricky. And have a way to get away. because the Philippines are mostly volcanic. In the case of Hawaiian Islands, that goes, I'm not sure. You're going to probably about 100-foot tsunami at the Philippines. Don't know where you are, whether you're in a run-up zone or not, that sort of thing. Yeah, fluidization is bad. They had I think it was in Norway. I'm not sure, but they had I believe it was a clay layer that destabilized in Norway. I think it was, and I mean the farms and houses were just sliding off into the ocean. You're in the beach. I hope you're on the beach, Tricky. That's my hope. And for those who came in late, this is a diagram of where we hope to be by the end of the week at Montana B. This is the ladder track. This shelf here above the 40-foot level is currently about 7 to 8 feet thick. I want to take it down to about 3 or 4 feet thick, and then probably punch a hole through here and leave this rock as a pillar. Depends on how much vein material we see in that. From underneath, looking up, we don't see very much high-grade looking material. Yeah, it was really cool, Jean-Francois. I'm not sure, again, if it's anything useful, but I'd love to get that rock, that light up to top of the hill, because he was looking at the various mosses and stuff there, and that might be interesting. But yeah, there's lots of things going out there to keep us nervous, and lots of things going on. Oh, Jean-Francois, a long time ago. I'm not sure what magazine. It might have been in Omni, or it might have been in Playboy. I'm not sure. Or what was the other one back then besides Playboy? Penthouse. Penthouse. Okay. But anyhow, indeed, Micah. Okay. And they had a thing on pet rocks, and it was pretty fun. Here's because it was kind of a gag. I don't know if you guys remember the pet rock things, but it was funny. Yeah, I knew that had to come up, Chris. But they're sitting there. Pet rocks are very long lived. They move very, very slowly and stuff. However, says, how do you breed pet rocks? It says, well, you take a male pet rock and a female pet rock, and then you strike them together hard, and pretty soon you'll see little teeny baby pet rocks forming. The Norway stuff is quick clay, huh? That sounds right. And then you make pet rock porn. But it was pretty well written. It was pretty funny. I like it when somebody takes something absurd and just makes it hilarious. Well, at least you know where it's at, right, honey bunny? I guess up there by Anchorage, they have these big marshes, tidal marshes, and they have this really nasty mud. And one of the problems is if you actually get out there and get stuck in the mud, where you work your, if you don't get out really quickly, the tide comes in and drowns you. So that doesn't work out well for 1 or 2 people a year, I believe. 400 tons of pet rocks? Well, I don't have that many. Bay of Fundy? Oh, that's more than it just comes up. You cannot outrun the tide. Not at the Bay of Fundy, you can't. Well, actually, you can. You just have to get a really good head start going uphill. But by the time you see it, if you're out there, it's probably too late. The frustrating thing is around Anchorage is that they'll be trying to save somebody and working hard at it. I mean, there was one I heard like trying to, pull them, but the suction is so much they would rip them in half if they pulled harder, and they eventually just drowned. You know, very sad way to go. But don't tiptoe through the marsh grass. Nature does not care. You fuck up, you will be fucked up. End of story. Yeah, unfortunately, Jean Francois. But anyhow, I want to make sure I don't do a Darwin Award for getting slabbed somewhere or something like that. Eva's got bad feelings about some of that stuff top of the hill. I'm not sure how to deal with that, but when Eva's got a bad feeling, I get a bad feeling. She's annoyingly accurate at times for no particular reason. That's the funny thing. Um, you know, she can't articulate why, just what she feels, and that's uh, it's kind of unnerving at times, But say when she says, you know, um, back out, I back out. You know, so we shall see. We got plenty to do this summer, and especially Jeff's going to be here next summer, so we should have loads of stuff to do. And then we got Dave Vanderwall, and we got to get down to his mine fairly soon. Probably we're just going to work like crazy on Montana B until the weather closes, and then we'll try Dave's mine. Compressed air, I don't know what they did in the marsh thing. That would have been a good thing to try to liquefy it, but I'm not sure what they had. It's Alaska, for God's sakes. They don't have everything right there, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, compressed air or a water jet, get one boat on each, one little boat on each side and a water jet. Yeah. Would have been good to try. Don't know if they had the possibility of doing it. You couldn't get a decent sized boat in there because, the water's only a couple feet deep. Just be sure to bar off the rocks. Honey Bunny, in some of these cases, you can't because it's the whole mountainside that's unstable. So that's, we'll take a look at each situation as we go.
I have zero, and I mean zero, motivation for you to be climbing around that mess.
Yeah.
That mess is not good.
Yeah, I don't know. So we shall have to see. Drink lots of tea fast, yeah. But as I say, there's lots of things to keep. And for all we know, by next spring, it's going to be World War III anyhow. So we'll see. We just play it by ear as we go. We always have interesting stuff to do. Oh. Anyhow, thank you, whoever it was, about telling me about Iceland. Alberta or Africa? Well, let's see. Alberta is, well, they can always see seed. So there's possibilities there. They got lots of oil. Africa, I don't know.
Nope. Mind you, I think Alberta's a Nope, two, but
Okay. Graham says try Australia. I like Australia. Let's see. Jean-Francois says Alberta because the Prime Minister gave the bird to Trudeau's policies. Well, that's a good start.
well, that's fine, great, and wonderful about Australia, but y'all got spiders. Not happening, dude. You have spiders the size of cats that run 40 miles an hour. No.
You've got my friends 900. Yeah, that's it. I say it's especially with the BRICS nations coming together to kind of counterbalance the West. I would if it could, but I don't think it's possible. Something about the law of the conservation of angular momentum, resort dog. Jeff says Eva has a point. Yeah, she usually does.
No spiders.
Big time is it? It's almost 9:00.
The goddess does not do spiders. Nope.
What was it the other day? Oh, it was in Bugs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You saw a spider? I, the great warrior, defended my woman. Not sure what kind of spider it was.
Well, it was shaped like a recluse, and it was the size of about a dime.
I say, could have been a recluse, but when you smash them from on top, the fingertip will work. Africa is pretty insane. You speak as if you have been there, honey bunny. Australia would be fine if not for the globalists. You too, Shaggy.
Would be fine if not for the spiders.
You take care. So we're planning to be back at Montana Bee this weekend, and hopefully we'll get down to the point where we're making final decisions on what to do.
I mean, Australia would be fine were it not for the spiders.
That was an article on pet rocks. It was basically just pure comedy, but it was really well written. Don't forget the snakes. Eva doesn't have a problem with snakes.
I like snakes.
She respects poisonous snakes, of which you've got some really poisonous ones there, but she's not terrified of snakes because all the snakes in the world have not entered into a conspiracy to kill her. You know?
It's pretty much a given that all the spiders on Earth want to kill me.
Yeah, Noble. We'll be back down there this weekend. Hopefully, Eva will. It was so cold and windy that it was really tough on her, but hopefully we'll have. She'll be able to go down and use the ultraviolet light and see what she sees and stuff. And she said there's an area on the 40-foot level where I didn't go this time. Yeah, I thought so, honey bunny. But she said there's an area where there's a lot of mold growing on pack rat droppings, and that might look really cool under the black light. Chris, with your brain, that seems like you were seriously underutilized. Yep, I say we'll see. I'm not going to make the breakthrough this weekend, but we may be getting close to it. Planning on it, Alex. I mean, that's basically what I do. The live stream is basically all I do that's just purely channel. Everything else, it's always I'm just kind of taking you along doing what I'm already doing. So happy to do so. And that went right over Keith's head. I guess so, Chris. It happens more and more lately. Yeah, let's see, Honey Bunny. All you've got that are dangerous snakes over there should be coral snakes, cottonmouths, and rattlesnakes, correct? And coral snakes aren't that dangerous. Uh, said coral, copperhead, and rattlesnakes, I believe. Did I say coral, copperhead, and rattlesnakes? Well, cottonmouth is. Ooh, you're right. Copperhead is not a cottonmouth. Absolutely. Chris wins again. I haven't seen any around here, Jean-Francois, but when I was with Jimmy last week, he said there were areas there that did have some.
Well, some parts of Montana have them.
Yeah, Alex, be very quick to ask questions here. We got some really smart people, and if you got a question, we probably got someone here who can answer it. Okay, whether it's me or somebody else. But say I'll be going down in that uh, decline. I think only about 5 more feet before I'm getting into dangerously shallow formation there, and then I'll have to make the call whether I take it all out or punch through. And I'm leaning towards punch through. It'll give me better ground support, and I'll have to move less rock. Yeah. Yeah. Chris, that was one thing that I noticed. This UV light came with like blue blockers, and it really helped. Wearing those looked. Why is it the mining jargon use words that no one else uses? And they had inclination. Because miners are lazy, damn it, Jean-Francois. We're not talking engineers here. We're talking miners. Yeah, that's true, Alex, especially in the processing part. Yeah, it's depending upon who explains it to you and your particular mindset. It was pretty intuitively obvious to me. But yeah. I don't know. I'll try that next time, Chris. I'll shine the light through the blue blocker, but I'm afraid it's going to block the UV also. I forget the name of the model. Let me see. It should be right here. It's an Alone Fire SV005 10-watt LED 365 nanometer flashlight. SVC 365. How does the UV help? It doesn't necessarily, but some minerals are fluorescent, and we were trying to see, is there any what you might call indicator minerals that would show up? Yep, that's the brand. SV005. I think the difference was this one is a higher output. And anyhow, calcite can glow. Other things, fluorite, things like that. But we were just trying to see, does it do anything? One thing we did notice was that the iron minerals don't reflect worth a crap and don't fluoresce worth a crap. So putting on those blue blockers, I mean, it looked like black velvet in the dark, you know? I used to use um, UV lights to hunt scorpions. And that was kind of fun. Not too worried about the scorpions, but I was worried about the sidewinders that were in the same area that the scorpions were. They don't glow, and they can kill you. Calcite fluoride scheelite. Yeah, I say there wasn't anything really glowing too much, and there was, it looked mainly like biologics. But up on top of the hill, the biologics look like they may have some usefulness. So we'll see. Chalkboard spray paint is dead black too. Makes sense. Anyhow, say it was kind of fun and interesting, but due to the weather and stuff, I couldn't get Eva up there to check it out. Yeah, we got limestone and dolomite up there at Montana B. Probably got some at top of the hill too, but I'm not sure. I'm not aware of anything, Alex. Yeah, they seem to, honey bunny. I say it looked dead black through the blue blockers. Really black. You could see that one rock in the video that looked shiny black under the UV, and then when you turn to natural light, it just looks like a rock. One thing that you say, scheelite might be a good one for the glows that could be gold. Mainly, if you know there's gold in this structure, and then you shine your light around, see if it looks, different in some way, some identifiable way from other stuff. And then that might be a good thing to work the hillsides and stuff too. It's a pretty steep hillside, not too much vegetation. And if there was something that was relatively unique and different, it might work out well. The black, not glowy too much rocks, there was a fair number of them kind of all over the place. So, it wasn't just the heavy iron minerals, but we'll do some more research on that. We'll do this other places too, top of the hill, places like that, and kind of go from there. But that's it. Hopefully, we'll have some real interesting stuff. I was noticing that there were some plants out there that seemed to glow a little bit. They're more like a flowering plant, and it was more like the stalks with the flowers.
Well, that's why I asked about bees.
Yeah, I know bees use ultraviolet, but I don't think the fluorescence. Yeah, I'm not sure what the value of dolomite is. I know most of the formations here are fairly shallow. It's not like 40-foot thick dolomite. So probably not the most economical to mine. But at least in Montana B, the wall rock is pretty competent. That's a good thing. Same is not to be said on top of the hill. Unfortunately. Okay. Anybody got any questions or anything at this point? Is there a way to reasonably sell it? You could. You're generally not going to find a small deposit without associated deposits. But if somebody's basically a hobby miner, I mean, I know somebody that just likes basically to play around and get gold. He doesn't want to really worry about mining it per se. So if, up in your neck of the woods or someplace you could find, say, a small placer, a stream that has some good little placer deposit on there, something, you probably could. What sounds does it make when you drop a grand piano down a mine shaft? A flat minor. Not bad. Okay, Brian. I'll get you now let's see. I should be able to type that in pretty quick. Okay. Let's go to this. Oh, come on. Close that. Do this. Northeast corner. Okay, sent you a couple sections there. Oh, what's the other one here? Good golly. Oh, where are we? Oh man, why does everything gotta be so difficult? Oh, I don't even know. Good Lord Almighty. Life is always so fucking complicated. Why can't anyone just make something that simply works? Mm-hmm. Let me get you another one here. Four. Base and meridian. Okay. Sent you a couple there, Brian. How does chloridization in andesite help gold deposit out of solution? Have no idea, Alex.
This is a magic piece of paper free zone. That's a question for people with magic pieces of paper. Or Rock Butcher.
Okay, take care, Tricky.
If Rock was around, he would know.
Yeah, Rock would probably know. If you see Rock Butcher on, ask the question then. The two things I sent you are probably 80 miles apart, but just there's 2 sections with one and 1 section with another. So, yeah, if you can find anything out, that would be cool. Oh, anyhow, anything else before we call it a night, folks? Looks like you're having some luck, Tricky. Sweet. Happy, happy, joy, joy. To quote Sandra Bullock in Demolition Man. That was a funny movie. Good night, Graham. Good night, David. Night, Jean-Francois. Night, Brian. Night, Tricky. Night, Alex. So I guess we're going to call it a night here. So happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.